Hello, everyone. My name's Alan Dick, and on behalf of my fellow co-founders Scott Silverman and Veronica Sonsev, as well as the rest of the Commerce Next team, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Today is Wednesday, May 8th, 2024, and our topic this week is how to use AI to craft an authentic and profitable customer journey. Before we go any further, I'd like to welcome and thank today's speakers. We have Anne-Marie Ipo-IT, the VP of Digital Commerce at Michael Kors, Hanny Batla, the CIO CTO of Adorama, Michelle Paczynski, the VP of Digital Innovation at Ulta Beauty, Matt Gould is the Chief Commerce Officer at Applied Digital, and of course, the one and only Megan Stabler, Senior Vice President of Marketing over at Big Commerce. It is great to have you all here. I want to also thank Applied Digital and Big Commerce for sponsoring today's broadcast. Couldn't bring these webinars to you without the support of our sponsor partners. Of course, I want to thank the Commerce Next staff, Maeve, Robert, Jill, Scott, and Veronica, who are all off screen helping to make this webinar a success. But most of all, I want to thank you, the audience, for taking the time to join us today. It's great to have you here. Let's quickly move through some of the housekeeping and upcoming events news. Our next webinar takes place on Wednesday, May 22nd. Topic, leveraging AI to connect with site visitors. Scott Silverman will be taking the helm on this session. He'll be speaking with Jane E. Yamamoto Johnson. She's the Senior Director of E-commerce at Forever 21. Michael Challenger, the CEO of Hauser, and Jason Seema, the CMO, at Session AI. You can register for that webinar by clicking on the link in the chat. Speaking of AI, the Commerce Next Growth Show in June has you covered with sessions like AI and product discovery, CRO loyalty with generative AI, AI and on-site personalization, generative AI product expert chatbots, and so much more. All you've got to do is go over to commercenext.com or look in the link in our chat to apply to attend. Speaking of which, this was a mistake I made in the last webinar. I forgot to mention that the Growth Show general admission ticket prices were going up on May 3rd. We got discussing it, and we thought, well, in fairness to our webinar audience, we're going to give you the same opportunity as everyone else. So for the next few days, you can use the code webinar to take an additional 25% off the general admission price if you want to attend the Growth Show. Now, side note here, if you're registered or you're planning to attend, I'd suggest you book your hotel rooms at the Hilton now. I was taking a look at the room block numbers, and they're solid, so you definitely want to get on top of that. Moving along, I want to remind you that our YouTube channel has almost 400 videos covering topics like acquisition, retention, leadership, retail technology, and much, much more. It's a great resource, and again, you can learn about our YouTube channel and all the benefits over there by visiting the link in the chat. Thanks, Mae, for putting all those links over there. Of course, we're recording this webinar. We'll email you when we publish it later this evening. Now, let's take a moment to remind everyone where to find things that you need to get the most out of this webinar. There are 4 tabs in the upper right of your screen: Chat, Q&A, Polls, and Handouts. Please use the Chat tab when you want to communicate with the other attendees or offer a shout out to the speakers. The Polls tab is where you can participate in the audience polls and review the final results after we close the polling. Handouts tab is where we have today's presentation and some other useful information for you to download. But the most powerful tool at your disposal is the Q&A tab. This is your steering wheel, allowing you to drive the conversation by posing the questions directly to our speakers. To further encourage you to ask these questions, our good friend Ryan Monahan, the CMO of Redcon One, is again generously providing a full box of their MRE protein bars with free shipping to any location in the US to every audience member whose questions we select for the panel discussion. Take it from me, these are extra yummalicious. I'll be sending the qualified audience members a promo code for their free box after the webinar ends. Now remember, even if you don't have a specific question, you can still participate by upvoting the other audience questions. Now, this definitely helps us prioritize which questions to present to the panel and lets us know what's most important to you. Lastly, if you're watching this on replay, please note that the handouts are available by clicking on the highlighted document icon in the video player, and the audience poll questions are available in the Polls tab. With that, let us bring up Matt Gould to the Commerce Next stage. Sir, how are you today?
I'm very good, thank you, Alan. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
It's great to have you here. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to let you take the stage, and I'll see you in a little bit.
Great, thank you so much. Well, hello everybody, and well, as I say, it's great to be here. Just before we get going, a few slides to hopefully open some thoughts about today's subject. But just for those of you that don't know us, so Apply Digital, we partner with change makers to drive digital transformation at scale. My role, I lead the global commerce practice for Apply, working with some of our customers, including CPG businesses like Kraft Heinz, retailers like the Very Group, and manufacturers such as Brompton to deliver best-in-class commerce and brand experiences. So let's crack on with a few thoughts. So just to, as I say, to kind of hopefully get things moving a bit and sharing some of our own experience, we wanted to raise a couple of questions today. So the first is really, as you can see here, so what are the questions that brands and retailers often ask about AI from our own experience? And then secondly, how can you drive and measure value when considering AI? So the questions we often hear, first and foremost is really how can AI enhance the customer experience? How can AI affect personalization, drive smarter promotions, and achieve that sort of deeper loyalty that we all want? Secondly, how can AI improve our internal processes and productivity? And thirdly, how can we guard ourselves against the inherent risks that AI poses? So diving into the first question here, just some high-level thoughts from our own experience and the types of conversations we have with brands and businesses. So first of all, is really kind of knowing your customer. So AI is absolutely amazing. Can do so much for our businesses, but at the end of the day, there are some kind of going back to basics that we need to think about, and the quality of data is key. The old adage of avoid garbage in and garbage out. Now, the good news is that AI can actually help us now with the way that we collect and craft data, and we're going to look at that a little bit later on. The second point here is really kind of learn why customers disengage. Now, ultimately, AI is extremely powerful, but let's not forget the importance of amazing user experience. What's the findability, the discoverability of our product like on our website? What's the quality of our content? What else is there out that we might be not doing in the right way that isn't allowing our customer to engage with us with a kind of frictionless and enriching experience? So AI is extremely powerful, but it's important not to forget some of the basics of really good quality UX. And thirdly, look for inspiration and stand on the shoulder of giants. The great thing is that there's so many people out there, service partners like us and amazing tech companies who are doing some fantastic work with AI. And it's really important to make most of their experience and look at the market, look what your peers are doing and take inspiration from them. You don't have to boil the ocean. You can start with simple things. So look at what others are doing well and really do learn from others. The second question that we often hear is how can AI improve our internal processes and productivity? So first of all, the thing that we always point to is knowledge being key to success. Becoming an AI first business. What does that mean? Well, it means investing in learning for a start. Make sure that everybody in your business has the opportunity to learn what AI is, to actually write a good prompt and actually just gain some real kind of basic understanding. And don't assume that even if we're a business that has a lot of sort of tech savviness, that everyone really understands what AI is. And this should be something that we do across our business. So it's not just for the techies or the marketing folks, but something that perhaps people in the warehouse or wherever in our business might benefit from gaining that basic understanding. So knowledge really is key. The second thing is that kind of turning the UX lens on our internal operations. So we often absolutely rightly fixate on what is the quality of our customer experience, but ultimately what is the quality of our internal user experience? Where are the bottlenecks and the labor-intensive processes that we have? Often we inherit processes from older technologies that we use, or indeed, sometimes processes just exist because we don't even know necessarily why we do things the way that we do. So AI is a great, really kind of opportunity to really kind of think about how can we accelerate and replace some outdated processes. Thirdly, take people on the journey. This is really important. We all hear stories about, the kind of the fear mongering around how AI and automation is going to mean people lose their jobs, and people are going to be concerned. And it's really important that we help, as part of the education message, is help our people understand what the opportunity is here, allowing them to free up time that's perhaps spent on mundane tasks and really focus on maximizing the use of their skills. And that's, again, that's great. That means people can really shine and bring their A game every time they engage and do things for us as a business. And then the third question is around how can we guard ourselves against the inherent risks that AI poses. So firstly is invest early, start small, take an agile approach, start with something that has a very small blast radius, low risk, and go from there. You don't need to try and boil the ocean. Start simple. Secondly is, be careful where and how you use AI. I'm sure we've all heard stories such as the now fabled Air Canada story about, a chatbot spewing out, versions of some of their legal terms and conditions, and that landed them in hot water. Don't be that company. Make sure that we use something like a chatbot to help people get to the right information, but the actual information is signed off by humans. We don't leave the AI to interpret that important information. And then thirdly, work with a thought leader to help you plan your AI strategy. Again, the benefit of others, how have other people failed? How can you learn from that? What's that comparative opportunity, knowledge opportunity that you can gain from? So now to get into some specific examples, how can you drive and measure value when considering AI? So we're going to look at a couple of things quickly. So first of all, leveraging AI for deeper personalization using a concept called cohort of one. And secondly, a little bit of thinking about conversational AI. And then thirdly, how do we bring some of these two basic concepts together in a kind of real life example of AI in action? So first of all, cohort of one. What does that mean? So the idea with cohort one, as it says here, is really to use AI to create really deep personalization. And basically the idea behind this and the thinking is that AI frees us up to really look at kind of rapid attribution, creation and segmentation at scale, but always bringing it back to the individual user. The benefit we have here is really to kind of look at frameworks that mean that we don't need to so much rely on having kind of quite wide segmentation that might not be appropriate to an individual, that every individual with the, powered by AI, we can craft experiences on the fly in real time now that are specific to them, because we're looking at their behavior and we're building up attribution sets that are specific to that one individual. And that's really powerful. It ensures that we get, continual refinement. We have the opportunity to learn about everything that they do and really pull that into a, really detailed, specific cohort of one segmentation approach. Ultimately, it's about the framework. This only works if you have the ability to actually then execute on that. So again, it's really important that we have, we're able to design prompts using tools such as OpenAI that are able to actually work with that really high definition segmentation and attribution data and craft on the fly experiences, recommendations, and so on, drive content that is specific to that person. So again, that final point there is about ensuring that the responses returned by the AI are in a structured approach. We need a structure that allows us to really get the benefit of kind of moving to this idea of cohort of one and really kind of maximizing the opportunity to personalize at a much higher level of definition. So really this is about, as we say, the opportunity here is event-based segmentation. We can use technology such as OpenAI. There are other products on, there are more commercial products now on the market also starting to use this approach. In our own work, in our own R&D lab, we did some work with GPT-4 to prove that, which is obviously extremely accurate in terms of the way that it interprets large amounts of information. But ultimately it allowed us to really drive a kind of personalized output towards this idea of cohort of one. And then the output from this really is to be able to extend segmentation, get really really personal, really deep, and also to be able to kind of understand where we think a user will go next in terms of their own behavior. Conversational AI is another thing that's been around for a while, but it's really starting to get interesting. And some of the benefits here really is about the user experience, how we enhance that, being able to drive cost savings, efficiencies, really collect data on the way through a conversational approach. And a lovely example of this, and something we've been playing around with, is within the travel space. So if you're looking at booking a holiday, what does that mean? How do we layer up lots of different types of data and make it available through a conversational interface? So it's going way beyond kind of basic chatbots, and this really allows us to personalize experiences, allows us to take data from different sources and layer that up. So we may start with like weather data as being a kind of a primary source of data, and then behind that, other forms of data that we can use to bring into the conversation to help inspire and educate a customer or a user as they go through a journey. And then with decent UX, we can also make sure that it's fun. They're not having to read lots of text. There's visual prompts that help support the conversational approach. So just finally bringing this all together, just a piece of work that we did with one of our customers recently called AI Ollie, and which really brings these two concepts of conversation and cohort of one together. So the idea with AI Ollie was to create an app that would allow people to get recipe ideas, working with our friends over at Kraft Heinz. And the way we did this was by creating this character, Ollie, AI Ollie, who's a chef effectively, and is kind of friendly and there to kind of help you, through some prompting to really help you think about what you want to cook, but very much personalized to your experience, potentially the ingredients you have available, and the way that you may your own tastes. So really bringing questions to light, asking more questions, prompting the customer to answer things that then folds back into the data source, enabling us to become more and more accurate over time in terms of the predictability of the types of things the customer might ask, but also making sure we serve them up with some really tasty, interesting recipe ideas, which is the idea here. So it's all about personalization. It's all about allowing people to explore recipes and culinary ideas, and we're always customizing, on the way through. So AI Ollie is using these two concepts of both rich conversational interfaces and AI helping to drive that, but also that idea, the cohort of one, that we really we're using this rapid on-the-fly attribution to help create amazingly personal experiences. And the results here are that we see a much higher rate of attribution creation and extraction, and that ultimately that results in really high degrees of engagement and satisfaction from using these types of tools. So again, a great way to use AI to enrich an experience. So just finally to wrap up, so just some key, in summary, having the right foundations in place. Don't forget the basics, data, UX, and things that we all know about. Don't do AI for AI's sake. Be clear on the value prop and where do you want to go, what do you want to achieve. Start early, take baby steps, be agile, test and learn. Invest in educating your whole organization. AI is for everyone. Again, lean on partners, people that have done this before, that stand on the shoulders of giants where you can, and take inspiration from what's out there. There's some amazing work going on, and do take time to educate yourself and be inspired by what you see happening around you. So there you go. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much. The audience is definitely engaged, Matt. They are asking all kinds of questions. Good for you guys. We're going to get to them. Matt, I'm going to bring you back up here in just a second, but right now I want to mention that Matt's presentation, as well as two other handouts, are in the handout area. I'll mention that I did add one from Apply Digital's last webinar, Navigating C-Suite Dynamics. A question we always get revolves around, how do I make an argument to the executives about X, Y, or Z? And I thought this was a really good handout, a good blueprint of how each different executive role thinks about things and the arguments that you can make and the alliances that you can build to make a successful argument. I really thought it was worth repeating. So that's in there as well. All righty, let's get into some poll questions. Now, for our first poll question, I'd like to tailor this talk to our audience a bit more. Now, while the customer journey is composed of many parts, we'll use our first question to examine the journey as it takes place on your site. Specifically, I want to know what areas of your e-commerce site need the most attention. What areas of your e-commerce site need the most attention? Is it homepage landing pages? Is it search and navigation? Is it checkout experience? What about product pages? Maybe it's something else. You can put that in the chat. Wow, it's kind of a four-way tie here. Almost everything's coming in at a quarter. Homepage landing pages at 23%, search and navigation at 28%, checkout experience at 26%, and product pages at 22%. That's very interesting. All right, Jill, we can close that poll. As longtime listeners know, I like comparing how your replies to questions change or don't change over time. Now, we asked this question of you over 2 years ago. Now, when Veronica asked this, you said that search and navigation needed the most. Coming in for a close second place were homepage, landing pages, and product pages. And as I look at it, it's pretty much the same. Over 2 years, very little has changed in terms of what you guys are prioritizing that needs extra work. So that's kind of interesting. We've not been making improvements at the scale we would like, apparently. All righty. Now let's set up question 2 by looking at what you told us you want the panel to focus on today. Now, you chose simplifying AI for non-tech savvy marketers, as well as improving operational efficiency. We'll talk about the first question on the panel discussion, but for the next question, I want to look a little bit more closely at operational efficiency and what you mean by that. So question number 2, what areas would you like AI to enhance in terms of operational efficiency? And you can select up to 3. Is it personalizing customer interactions at scale? Maybe it's automating content creation and management, optimizing multi-channel marketing campaigns, gauging customer segmentation and targeting is another answer, or streamlining the measurement of campaign performance. Looks like personalizing customer interactions at scale is tied with enhancing customer segmentation and targeting. Coming in third is automating content creation and management. Optimizing multi-channel campaigns comes in around 17%, and streamlining the measurement of campaign performance is coming in at a solid 9%. All right, that sounds good. Jill, you can close that poll. Thank you so much, audience. Now, our last question relates to our next webinar taking place on Wednesday, May 22nd. Scott Silverman is moderating, and the topic is leveraging AI to connect with site visitors. He wanted me to ask you, how likely is it that you've offered discounts and promotions to customers that would have made a purchase without the offer? How likely is it that you've already offered discounts and promotions to customers that would have made a purchase without it? Choose one. Very likely, somewhat unlikely, or very unlikely. Let us turn to the screen with the answers, and we see, half of you, very likely, 45% of you, somewhat likely. I think we know where this is headed. Somewhat unlikely is 5%, and very unlikely is 2%. Someone's very confident out there. I like that. All righty, that's where we're at. So it looks like we definitely have been offering discounts and promotions to people that would have made the offer anyway. Outstanding. Thank you very much for taking that. And with that, let us bring up our panel of experts. All right. How is everyone doing today?
Great.
Excellent.
Great. All right. So let's dive right into this. The audience is hot asking questions. Let's get on it. Let's start by doing introductions. Anne Marie, I'm going to let you go first, and then Michelle, you're next.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Anne-Marie Ippoliti. I lead e-com and marketing for Michael Kors. Michael Kors is an accessories and ready-to-wear designer with reach. And my role is to ensure a great experience for our customers who visit our digital store.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Michelle.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me, Alan. Appreciate the opportunity to chat a little bit about AI at Ulta Beauty. I am Michelle Paczynski. I lead our digital innovation team, and I have been with the company for this month will be 12 years, half of my time in IT, overseeing our consumer technology teams. And then the other half, I started a dedicated digital innovation team. And hopefully, a lot of the audience knows Ulta Beauty. We are the largest beauty retailer in the United States. And we have a very large section of a beauty assortment. We cover all categories in beauty. Hopefully, most people also know that we have services in all of our locations to back up some 25,000 beauty products.
All righty. All righty. Megan, you're next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Megan Staber. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Big Commerce. We are one of the world's leading modern e-commerce platforms, both B2C and B2B brands. I could say a lot of things about what we do, but I'll summarize it this way. We are investing and embedding AI into the platform and what you would use to really help you increase engagement and drive revenue.
Outstanding. And Hani, let's finish the introductions with you.
Hi, I'm Hani Batla, CIO of Adorama. Adorama is one of the largest specialty retailers for all things professional audio, video, and photography, but we're also best known for catering to everybody from creators to adventurers. We have many other brands under our umbrella, such as Scuba.com, SunnySports.com, Printique, and others. And
yeah, that'll come
to. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just know that's going to come from a conversation with the point I want to bring up. You please continue. I apologize.
No, and that's it. We're basically try to cater to all of those needs for folks who are out in the world to enjoy it and in capture moments.
All right, so let's frame this conversation a bit more thoroughly here. I want to ask the question of the retailers: what does AI personalization mean to your company? How is your company best leveraging AI to improve the customer experience? Anne-Marie, let's start with you.
All right. I think the keyword we think about with AI is at scale. And I know Matt actually mentioned that several times in his presentation. So we see AI as a way to allow us to listen to the customer through their behaviors, customer signals across the site as we did before, but now at scale, and then serve them up even more relevant content than we could in the past.
All right, Michelle, let's get you in here.
Perfect. And I would say at Ulta Beauty, we see AI as a really critical technology to be able to take advantage of our differentiated data set. We think it really that you can really intelligently mine data more meaningfully with AI. And I'll maybe give an example, Alan, of that is a little over 5 years ago, kind of shortly after we formed the digital innovation team, we did 2 acquisitions. We acquired QM Scientific, an AI startup that basically had a recommendation engine. And then we acquired our virtual try-on partner, Glam Street. And so what we saw in those 2 acquisitions is kind of a beautiful combination of combining AI and augmented reality. And the way that we do that is with AI and being able to process an image, we understand your visual characteristics, and then we can really tailor recommendations. So we'd like to think that it doesn't really get any more personalized than how you look, and being able to really understand that and then provide recommendations to it's about 11.5 million beauty enthusiasts that use Glam Lab, our virtual try-on. And annually, they try on over 85 million shades.
Oh, that's impressive. That's really, we're going to get back to data in just a second, because that's one of those topics that you got to talk about it. But Hani, I want to get over to you. It's more of a journey for Adorama, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we think of AI across all sorts of areas, and we look at things from our homepage to our product pages to our search to our checkout. So every step of the way, we've been over the past 4 years been looking at our data and trying to figure out how best to leverage AI and personalization and all the other use cases across the different parts of our site and really build something meaningful. I mean, we're trying to basically understand challenges and solve for them. So it's not one thing across all of them. I'll give you an example, right? Checkout is where my recent obsession is. And that one's more around how do you make the checkout more personalized for the end user. And there we're looking to offer better frictionless commerce. We actually currently entered a trial with Fastlane by PayPal, where we're trying to now go for a quick, fast checkout where the best default payment method is available, all the information is entered. That's just one thing, right? But we're also looking at things like, well, when you're at checkout and you are a loyal member of Adorama, can we offer you better shipping terms? Can we offer you other policies on returns that could be personalized to you? So those are some of the angles we're looking at. And all of those things are tied with us using our data and using AI to make some of those best, most relevant, personalized experiences available to the thing on the site. Another example I'll use is, we've been big on search for the past few years, and we've tried a bunch of different solutions. More recently, we dabbled with, we're currently using Google's Cloud Retail Search, and there, we saw the value in it because a lot of our customers start their journey on Google search, and by the time they come to our site, a lot of that knowledge graph from Google that they may have been looking for mirrorless cameras or Nikon carries over to our site. So by the time they come to our site and search for mirrorless cameras, guess what? We're surfacing the best, most relevant search option in the product listing page, right? So those are just a few examples where we are really leaning in.
Yeah, I mean, those are great examples, no question about that. I want to bring Megan in here. Um, I want to pivot now to data a bit because this is very definitely going to require some discussion on this. I think you have some opinions on how data should be used and the importance of getting it right. Megan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's quality and consistency, right? I mean, if we're aggregating data from different MLs or pulling, large data sets together, it's about the data set for data for that individual consumer or shopper across the entire journey, right? So you could start with search and merch, but are you really starting with organic and paid digital and knowing the cohort that you're trying to attract onto your site, just like Alta has talked about? And then from there, how are you refining that data to ensure that they're getting the best, most optimum journey? And AI can certainly go ahead and help you with that. And then downstream, you've got to think about the checkout experience. You've got to think about the actual shipping experience and all the notifications. So for me, data is really across all the interactions, right? All the integrations of the different tech components you've got. And I love the fact that Michelle had the opportunity to acquire an AI company a number of years ago to start helping building that out. But there aren't that many brands and retailers today that either have the opportunity to do that or have the revenue and growth stream to be able to use some of that revenue to go ahead and actually invest in it. So, AI models do rely heavily on this data for their training. They rely on the data essentially to be clean. And if it's noisy, bad data in, bad data out, the old FIFO type thing, but change it a little bit. And it could be biased and it could be incomplete. So the significance of cleansing that data, getting it right is so key. And not just for that user journey that I described, but also taking, I think as Hani just described, right? How are you looking at product descriptions, product recommendations? And then thinking about the channels that I may be shopping on, connecting them through efficient schemas into somebody who may be shopping on Instagram versus somebody who's shopping on TikTok or a marketplace. It could be the Amazon marketplace, or it could be a Walmart marketplace. So you've got to think about all these things in abstract with the one key thing that matters the most, and that is the data.
Emery, you were talking earlier about product attribution within what was an issue with data. Do you want to comment further on that?
Yeah, so I would say in my over 20 years of working in the world of retail, product attribution is something that has always been a challenge across functions and roles, and it can only be supported manually up to a certain extent. And it's really exciting now to see the real use cases where AI tools can help us create additional attributions and really enhance the data that we already have.
All right. And Michelle, I did want to ask one quick question of you. Did you discuss hydrating the data? I know that came up in our prep call. Forgive me. There's a lot of good audience questions coming in, so I had to take my attention away for a second. Did you discuss that yet?
Yeah, I mean, as I think everybody's already mentioned, it's all about the data, and it's all about having, accurate data, clean data. None of this really, we would not be successful in creating kind of relevant, personalized experiences without great data, whether it's, kind of adding additional information, like as Anne-Marie talked about it, Megan obviously described, really the need to have, like solid data. And one of the things that we did, right, I mean, when we began our personalization journey and kind of creating that platform, is the very first thing that we needed to do was to really, was to democratize our data, or we sometimes would say, to free our data and to move it into a centrally accessible place in the cloud. And so we really did, I mean, we spent, probably kind of, almost a good year of really thoughtfully and intentionally moving the data, kind of into a place so that we could then leverage a lot of AI and tools to create experiences on top of that and serve that up to our guests in a meaningful way.
Yeah, and Matt, you were commenting earlier about the end of cookies, making this, well, the eventual end of cookies, that this is just even all that much more critical to get your data right. Did you want to further comment on that?
Right. I mean, I think the again, obviously, having that amazing ability to analyze on the fly and to create rich attribution at speed and at scale is really important. But also behavior. I mean, the ability now of if you think about some of your favorite apps. I mean, I'm a keen Spotify user, and the way that behavioral analytics are really, powered by AI, are able to really kind of almost spooky, right? How do you know I was thinking about that type of music, or that kind of but that's because of the fact that the behavioral analytics are now just so smart and are able to kind of look at such a huge amount of data on the fly and create these kind of events that seem to resonate with people. And it seems like magic, but it's ultimately it is the power. And and again, as we see legislation around the world affecting the way that we use cookies, or even the permissions that you have to go through, just becoming a kind of a barrier to being able to jump onto a website that you're interested in and start interacting, then that's where again there are great opportunities to look at behavior, chart it on the fly, use what other people have done before, create these kind of these pathways that are super smart and have the ability to craft amazing customer experiences without the use of cookies, right? So it's good news in many ways. I think that kind of the old adage that necessity is the mother of invention, and I think this is a great case of that. If we knew that cookies were going to be around, we probably wouldn't be driving some of the amazing behavioral predictive analytics that we're type experiences that we're now seeing.
All right. So before we get to the audience questions, and we've got some good ones in there. Actually, no, I am going to kind of move to them. We had two questions in here. The first one was from Bob Dakin, consultant. How can AI make a much more emotional connection? It all seems canned at this time and not as authentic as if you were talking to a human. It still seems robotic with the companies that are using it with the CRM. Companies are moving to AI for cost effectiveness, but may not realize that they're losing customers. I thought that was an interesting comment. Hani, I was going to talk to you specifically about this. So Bob asked a question that I think is perfectly good here. Do you want to start on that one?
Yeah, I mean, his take is correct. I mean, most companies are doing the bare minimum, right? I mean, most people still think of AI-driven chatbots to be very much like those voice assistant call center guys who you don't want to talk to. You keep hitting 000 to get past the helper to get to an actual human, right? But thankfully, I think we all learn from it, and especially when it comes to building experiences now and leveraging AI. I think the first thing most people need to realize, and we've done this, actually have been working on it currently, is that one of the advantages of AI is that you can start teaching it your voice. And what does that mean, right? That means you teach it in your brand's voice. You feed it articles that you've written. So in our case, we've done everything. We've fed it blog articles, our LLM agent. We've fed it all of the product copy we've done. We've taught it about our products, about all the features and things people are looking for. So it's because if you think about our company at Rum especially, most people come to us to buy very expensive high-end camera bodies and lenses and all these things. These are sizable investments, right, that they're making. And when they want to get help, right, as much as we have always provided humans available on chat to provide product guidance and all that stuff, it's not scalable to the level where we'd want it to be. And what's amazing is we've been experimenting with generative AI, and they're by just teaching the large language model all of our content and blog articles and all that stuff, within a matter of a month, it was already better than the most average customer service person we had. And it can actually answer a lot of key questions about how most best to, when buying the camera and once you bought the camera, how best to use it in the proper way. It can reference all of the learning is taken from the open web about how to best shoot in certain lighting inside a particular location. It's even gotten to the point where if you want to ask it something about what's the right battery for this camera, sometimes that product information isn't even clearly available on our product detail page, but it is able to source it and present it to customers. So between the fact that it's highly scalable because it's an agent, right? Second, the fact that it can learn so fast and pick up data from so many sources, and we do verify those sources. We're not just completely letting it hallucinate and put it up there without any of that screening and knowing what the response will be. And third, where it actually, once it's learned your voice and it actually can speak to the right audience in the way they expect to be. So, like, we've already been thinking about, well, a professional photographer would want it talking to him in the voice of a professional photographer. And enthusiasts would want them to talk and dumb things down a bit more so they can make the highly technical, very scary piece of equipment more accessible. So that's how we've been thinking it. So I agree that a lot of the current experiences are fairly robotic, but I think these are early days, and we do believe that there's a lot of opportunity to continue to train. The models keep getting better, and depending on how much time you take to train it on your data and your company's voice, I think you'll see that there's huge dividends to be gained from it.
So this is a jump question for anyone who wants to take this. So, honey, I agree that you got to train the model, but isn't it also part of that training telling it what not to do? Like, there's a lot of hyperbole. Like, things are transformative, things are generational. Like maybe it just isn't that exciting. And I don't think human beings tend to talk that way. I forget what the New York Times issued or mentioned a report where they're like the 6 common words that AI just constantly uses. This is an open question. Do you use negatives? Like, are there things you say don't do versus do this? Just curious.
Yes, you can. So that's part of the training, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I once earlier we had
we talked about this.
Where I said, listen, right now we don't even if we start trusting it, we're still verifying it constantly. And one of the most important things is we do believe in having a human in the loop initially for a lot of this responses it's giving so that we can monitor it. Long term, we do expect it to transfer to a whole human on the loop, which means that the human being doesn't really interfere as much. The AI is kind of doing, and we continue to study and optimize the algorithms and the training that's happening. So that's how our approach is right now. But yeah, you're right. But one of the key things we accomplished by just training it on our brand guidelines and voice in our articles was it stopped using so much of the voices that the AI generally uses, those 6 common words, as you said, Alan, and more of the words we have been using in our own articles that are being written by human beings. And a perfect example is this, right? There have been examples out there of companies using AI to completely flood their blogs with all these thought pieces and articles. We took the thoughtful approach of having the AI generate ideas, create first drafts, and then having human editors then make them more authentic, more real, right? And that's kind of how you want to think about it. Like, you're still in that early stages, so you still have to constantly it's an assistant right now. It's not taking over.
All right. Let me ask
I might
this.
just,
Dive
hey,
in.
Alan, I'm just going to jump in there and kind of, and certainly, Hani, kind of agree with that, right? You don't just let them, kind of have free reign. For sure, you need to, like, I mean, there is definitely a role for humans to be able to, review that, edit that, put it more in a human voice. And I'll give you one kind of cool example in beauty, little different, but we actually have in one of our stores, we have a robotic that does false lashes. Now, this is all based on AI. I mean, it's cameras and it's image processing that are recognizing the face, understanding where to place the lash. But that is done in, there's a really nice handshake between a human and the robotic, because ultimately, right, for the human touch, it is at the end, the human will kind of fill in and complete anything that, maybe just requires a little bit of touch up. And it's a really cool connection of the use of AI and a robotic that makes it much more efficient, less time to do false lashes, but then the person can do more of them. So they're done in less time by the efficiency of AI underneath, again, machinery, but for sure there's the need for the person there to kind of fill in and make it more of a real experience, and kind of, like to actually make it a perfect, more of a human connection when delivering that.
Yeah, absolutely. I forget what webinar it was on, but one of the retailers on there was like, AI is like a really good intern. They do great work, they learn fast, but they absolutely got to be managed. And so I think that is just a great analogy for it. Michelle, I'm going to actually, no, I'm going to take this over to Anne-Marie first. Then, Michelle, I'm going to hit you. Let's talk about training teams to utilize AI. I mean, obviously, you've got to train the systems, but you also kind of have to think about how your employees approach it, how, managing expectations for the senior management. Do you want to kick in some ideas there?
Sure. So I think it depends on the use case that you're using AI. So in some cases, you're replacing a tool that you currently have with a better tool that might have some AI behind it. And so there's a little bit less change management there. But when you are using something that's new, for us, we're even leveraging our partners to learn the best practices that they recommend. So if we're using a tool with a partner, what do they suggest? And how can we leverage those learnings from the partners that we have today?
All right, Michelle, any additional thoughts before I go to Megan?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of, again, I will just, kind of double down on what Anne-Marie said, which is, for us, it's true that we got a bit of a jump start by a couple of acquisitions. So I think it is important to have a level of expertise kind of infused in your existing, kind of full-time equivalents. So kind of adding expertise is key to be able to kind of lift up, kind of the rest of the team, but relying on not, but partnering with experts in the field, and also, kind of getting, a lot of education and insight to move a little bit, to really accelerate the knowledge and kind of close the gap. I think that's super important. So, but I also think, again, I will advocate for it, great to have somebody within your team full-time that actually can even then have a better conversation with a lot of the partners who have had time to kind of build their expertise.
Megan, you jump on that, right? Because I think you believe that it's all about the quality of a conversation, and the more a team knows, the better that conversation is going to be, I would assume.
100%, right? I mean, if you're embedding different things, right? We started off talking about search and AI and a few other things. We just briefly talked about chatbots and other things, right? Everybody has to be part of that conversation. So what I talk to people about is, don't think about it from what you believe you want to go ahead and deliver. Think about it from the consumer and what they want to receive, right? Because I also noted another question in the chat there from Andrea Young, right? Talking about personas on the face of chatbots, right? And so, you got to take it all the way through the systems when it comes to data, but you've also got to think about it as, how do you want to be represented? I mean, I love the fact that Alta is doing some of the things you're talking about, Michelle, because I've got an Alta like a mile from me that I do go to, right? And so if I know I'm going to get a richer experience, but I'm going to get a human experience, Whether I know it or not, that's important to me, right? It's when I don't get that human experience because we haven't trained our AI, or to Hani and what he talked about, right? Putting in those, yes, you can put in words not to use. So for me, it's about your brand tone, your brand voice, right? It's about the style. Are you business or are you more millennial? Do you want to be more empathetic or more, focused on what the delivery is? All of these things are part of that machine learning model. They're all things that as well vendors are beginning to provide as part of that seamless experience. So it really is stepping back. Don't look at it from how you believe you want to be portrayed, but how are your consumers, your shoppers, your end users really going to experience, because that's what we've talked about for over a decade in e-commerce. It's about the experience. How are they going to experience it so that the blend is never seen? They just think they're interacting with a human all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think Honey will give you the last word on this, and then we're going to start going over to some of these great audience questions that are coming in. You consider it a force multiplier, right? It's not
Yeah.
just about the conversation and training up on it, it's the force multiplier. Do you want to give that a brief explanation?
Sure. I mean, look, when the world was waking up to the power of these tools, a lot of us in the industry have known about this, and there's all sorts of AI. More specifically, when you start thinking about generative AI and what people started experiencing ChatGPT early last year, right? Folks were very excited about how they can best leverage it and get most value out of it, and people were afraid. Oh, does it come after my job? Does it take something away? And we have always seen it right from the get-go. We saw it as a force multiplier because the way you have to do it is you have to understand how different members of your team function, what tools are they using, what functions they are trying to perform, and then we basically work with them to utilize it as part of their workflow. We actually taught them how to best use it in the way they could and not do the missteps where they're suddenly putting in data that's got PII information into a chatbot that may be not on the open AI LLM, but instead we started providing them the right tools that were more secure, that protected the data. And so once you have those basics worked out, then after that it's really just training people, showing them how to share information amongst themselves, creating user groups internally that shared notes on what they were doing, how they were doing it, how they were getting the best outputs from it, and how does it help them in their end work, right? Which is, at the end of the day, for us, it's all about satisfying our customers, delivering the best customer experience, and we framed it in that way. And therefore, that's when I said it's a force multiplier. It really does allow us to then
Yep.
take on more, deliver more, and deliver better.
Alrighty, we got a ton of questions. We got 8 minutes. Let's get through them. Andrea Young, a marketing director at a nonprofit, is asking, and Matt, this is for you. I've been researching chatbots for the service we provide. I've noticed that there are nonprofits who create a persona or person to be the face of their bot. Are there any stats to show that people are more responsive with a persona? And then there's another comment down here about making certain that the handoff, if there is a problem, goes from the bot to a human seamlessly. And so, Matt, I will let you take that.
Great, thank you. I mean, a couple of really interesting questions. Starting with Andrea's question, and that in terms of the stats, certainly what we see, perhaps more anecdotally, is that the benefit of having different different personas within a conversation that are specific to the customer, to the user, to the beneficiary of that chat. So again, different people will benefit from different styles of question and answer responses, depending on their competency of the subject that they're asking about, depending on their level of interest, and so on. So again, making sure that we respond when we're using chat AI-enabled chat technologies to make sure that we respond in the right way, depending on the types of questions that are being asked, and using using data to make sure that we're analyzing the language to make sure that our responses are going to be right for that person, their level of expertise in the subject that they're engaging in. So certainly there is a lot of opportunity in that space. The other point that was raised earlier, rightly, was about was really about the kind of post-purchase experience. If you think back to kind of commerce, there's so much of what happens after you check out. If you have a problem with the order, whether you have questions about a product once you get it home and you unbox, and so on. Again, AI can, it's so obviously or chatbots are so well suited to being able to sort of steer and dive in and support customers in those very particular scenarios. But again, one of the gotchas that's been raised a couple of times and mentioned in the chat is like, there is a point where the human needs to come back into the conversation. And again, making sure that when we're training chatbots for those kind of post-purchase conversations, or indeed, to the stories we're hearing, or the ideas we're hearing earlier about when people are in a purchase decision and they're looking for expert advice about something as complex as a professional camera, is to make sure that it's clear that there is a point in those conversations that we need to have the signals available to know when it's time for a human to jump in. And again, or indeed that we need to switch to a different type of content. If text-based content is not really enabling or serving that customer, then how do we provide the right content at the right time? It could be instructional video or image-based content. And again, all of these are kind of great opportunities that we have now, making chat-based experiences much more conversational, moving from the kind of blandness of more old-fashioned chatbots to these richer conversational experiences, whether during a purchase flow or indeed post-purchase, supporting the customer to make sure that we don't lose loyalty, right? Because loyalty is also something that happens after people check out. And bringing it back to that theme, AI can help across those different phases of interaction.
That's good. I'm going to keep pushing on here. We have a question here from Kaylee. She's asking, how are you tapping on AI to optimize the visibility, deliverability of your content for search and AI bots? I thought it was interesting news that OpenAI is writing a search product to rival Google Perplexity. I will set that out there. We had a long conversation about SEO. This is a jump question. Anyone can take it. Who wants it? Anne-Marie, you're leaning forward. Does that mean you want to do it? Nope, you don't want to do that. I'm misreading that. Going once, going twice. Anyone want to take it?
No, I'll jump in really quick.
He jumps in.
I'll jump in. I'm jumping in, Alan. But it's really early days, early days for us, but we are looking at, there's kind of a cool startup that has, that is using AI, generative AI, to create FAQs and to provide, what was kind of a reasonable, experience for a text interface of FAQs and some really, interesting FAQs about products. But one of the things that they're doing behind the scenes of those pages is, really richly tagging it and kind of tagging it with SEO in mind. But again, obviously, you have to be careful. You can't just generate thousands of pages and throw them into your site, right? And, that won't be necessarily looked upon well by search engines. But I think that's an interesting use of it, is kind of find the right place for where some of that content can be surfaced, within the digital, the digital experience of a website. How can you kind of raise up, whether it's Q&A, reviews, FAQs, and then really find a meaningful way to tag it and do so, in kind of a much more efficient manner.
Yeah, can I just layer onto that? Look, getting your SEO right is key in today's world. You can be depreciated if they know that it's written by AI. So cleansing would be a word. I don't want to use it so much as I say washing, right? We need to wash AI generated content. We also need to be very, very careful on where we're actually encouraging the chatbot, the generative AI to pull the data in from, or the content in from, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in the court system right now about whether or not copyrighted information should be used when it's pulled into AI for generating things. So what you're doing with product listings and product descriptions based off of your data is really good, right? And we've got technology that does that at BigCommerce at scale. Thousands of SKUs, thousands of descriptions, millions of SKUs, millions of descriptions, right? All need to be processed at scale to get out there into the channels and the marketplaces. But when you think about content in general, you've really got to make sure that you're doing it in the right way, and then taking it through bot detectors so it doesn't get depreciated by the Googles and the Bings and the others that are out there. So do it. And I think as Michelle talked about, and probably Anne-Marie as well, test your way through this all the time. That's the key thing. A/B testing is good, but this stuff really needs to be tested to get it out there right.
Okay, cool. We are at time, but I want to end with one from David Weissman. Hey, Dave, good to have you here. He wants to know, does anyone have any favorite consumer experiences powered by AI, and where can we find them? I thought that was kind of a fun question to end with. What AI experiences do you like?
Well, I'm gonna be slightly cheeky here. The thing that I shared earlier, I love the AI Ollie approach. I think things that are fun, that are that resonate with personal interest and things that we enjoy doing, like cooking. I love cooking, so for me, I'm a big fan of. I don't just want to go and search for dry recipes. I want to engage and learn and have fun. So I think it's a great example.
I'm just going to add to it. I think anywhere where you have the Instacart plugin tied into the generative AI thing, where you just ask it for recipe ideas, and in the end, it gives you the perfect recipe, and then you say, "Hey, can you just help me buy the ingredients?" To me, that's super pleasing and super helpful, and I foresee us, everybody's already moved away from the chat to what they're calling the AI agents that take this to the next level, where it starts doing things for you. That's so the best experience is the one that's about to come. Everybody from Apple to everybody's now starting to talk about it in the terms of these AI agents that will make our lives better, and then AI will talk to other AI, and everything will magically happen for us.
The world will be wonderful. And,
Right.
and with that, we are going to wrap up today. Anne-Marie, Michelle, Hani, Megan, Matt, everyone who's been working in the background here, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Audience, thank you for being here. We will see you again in 2 weeks when Scott continues the AI conversation. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you later. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.